Hey guys, it's Hunter. Welcome back to a special, extra juicy episode of Ask a Fish. This video was inspired by a passing comment I saw in last week's episode. Working Order 2189 asked, what are your thoughts on the new BC Rich guitars at Sweetwater? Didn't even realize BC Rich had sorted out production and getting guitars into dealers, to be honest. And when I looked into it further, I realized that this topic deserved its own video. There is a lot to cover here. I had no idea. So strap in, smack the like video if you go on to enjoy it. That massively helps appease the vile mistress that is the YouTube algorithm. Let's get into it. So BC Rich is back again. This is not the first time I've said that, but I swear this time it looks like it's real. Let's recap. Let me set the scene. BC Rich, obviously known for just the most unapologetically metal-shaped, battle-ready guitars. The last time I talked about BC Rich in depth was back in 2020. It's when the new ownership had just taken over and they'd relaunched the entire brand. Prior to that, players my generation pretty much just knew BC Rich as that brand that made the cheap, pointy guitars with the tribal designs. And I'm not gonna lie, 13-year-old me thought they were cool, but they weren't exactly known for making good guitars. So new management took over and they promised a complete overhaul and a return to BC Rich's roots while simultaneously looking to the future. They were going with the bold strategy of all imports being premium spec Korean-made guitars, no budget models. Everything would be made at World Music, one of the most reputable guitar facilities in the world. Ebony fingerboards, Goto locking tuners, and most importantly, everything would be neck through, just like it was in the golden era of BC Rich. That is a big call, and I respect the hell out of that. They were going to be dropping two lines, the Legacy line and the Extreme line. The Legacy line would be faithful recreations of the classic BC Rich models, exactly as the fan base remember them. And the Extreme line would be updated takes on the iconic BC Rich shapes with looks and specs for the modern metal players. We're talking Fishman Fluence, we're talking Evertune, reverse headstocks to make them look meaner. And I mean, this is what I've been begging Dean and Jackson to do. They have such iconic shapes and such a strong legacy in their own rights, and yet they refuse to update the Kelly or the Rhodes in line with what LTD or Schecter are doing for the ultra-modern players. I was able to demo one, a Mockingbird Extreme, in April of 2020. It was heavy as but it was actually pretty sick. But you know what else happened in spring of 2020? It was unfortunate timing for a relaunch, to say the least. I mean, all the factories were shut down, supply chain was a mess, shipping was f***ed. They'd done this, in theory, massive relaunch, and you could not find any new BC Rich guitars anywhere because they couldn't get them made or they couldn't get them shipped over here. I mean, timing-wise, it was incredibly bad luck. And at the time, they'd said as soon as they had one available, they'd send over a 10-string bitch, or Rich B, as it's called now. Because I've always been interested in it. It's like a 12-string, but the A and low E are normal, so you can riff out and then have that cool 12-string chorus effect on the high strings. Super dope. Anyways, it's been like 3 years, still haven't gotten one. I mean, they probably forgot, to be honest, but we move. By some miracle, though, they managed to stay afloat. They're now listed on Sweetwater, and some are even in stock. Holy shit. And they've even added a boatload of new models. So I guess let's do a quick rundown of the new stuff, and then let's talk about where they go from here. The quick rundown is not so fucking quick because this is a 7-page script. And actually, because this video was inspired by a video that mentioned Sweetwater, it's a great time to mention that Sweetwater have sponsored today's video. So links to everything I'm talking about will be in the description. And right now we're in the middle of guitar month, so they have special deals, special financing on anything and everything guitar related. I was a customer long before they were a partner of the channel, and that's because they have things like the guitar gallery to choose the exact guitar you want, and the 55-point inspection, which is like another layer of QC. So when I'm looking to buy anything online, Sweetwater's my first stop. I'll have a link below, or you can bookmark my affiliate link for later. That actually really helps the channel out. While you're doing that, let's talk more about BC Rich. Okay, so on the Extreme collection side, we don't actually have too many new additions from launch. All of them come with Fishman Fluence Moderns, a kill switch, and a 5-piece maple Wenge neck-through construction with a satin Shredzilla ultra thin profile neck. I hate when companies do this, by the way. Like, what does that even mean? Yeah, okay, like, you can assume with a name like Shredzilla, it's not gonna be a baseball bat of a neck, but is it a D? Is it a C? Is it kind of thin? Extra thin? If I recall, it's kind of like ESP's Extra Thin U, but it's been so long, I'm not entirely sure. I remember it was comfortable though. Speaking of which, it seems that 88,444% of viewers haven't remembered to subscribe. Make sure to do that and click the notification bell. That way you don't miss any new uploads from me. So you've got the Mockingbird Extreme that comes in either Evertune or Floyd 1000 variants. Only the Floyd one seems to be on Sweetwater, but they do have it in all the colors: Black Cherry Quilt, Cyan Blue, Matte Black, Purple Haze, which doesn't seem to be very purple, but we move, and Spalted Maple. And they still have the obnoxious amount of abalone that they said was only for the 50th anniversary models because BC Rich was founded in 1969. Nice. So I don't know if they just decided they liked that look, or if they already had the orders in, or just wanted to get models produced and didn't want to go through more prototyping, or what's going on. But yeah, these give 2010 Schecter a good run for their money. Then the Warlock Extreme comes in Black Onyx, Matte White, Black Cherry Burst, Reptile Eye, Spalted Maple, and Purple Haze. Again, not very purple. The War Beast has been added to the Extreme lineup since launch. Comes in either Matte Black or Spalted Maple. What an outrageously metal guitar shape. The Ironbird Extreme is another non-launch edition. Comes in Cyan Blue, Matte Black, and Matte White. Interestingly, the Mark II version is also available for pre-order alongside the Abalone-tastic version. Okay, so the lineup is still a bit of a mess, but this gives us a little look into what the non-Abalone versions will look like. Plain white binding, diamond inlays. I gotta be honest, I kind of prefer the Abalone versions. The Mark II looks kind of plain as far as BC Rich goes. The abalone is gaudy, but it looks higher end. Maybe if there was triple ply top binding instead of single ply side binding. I don't know, let me know what you think of that. There's also a 26.5-inch scale length 7-string version in black or in white, which are very intense looking guitars. And when you say that about a BC Rich guitar, that is a statement. Then the JRV Extreme. Same colors as the War Beast, Matte Black and Spalted Maple. I mean, it's a metal brand, you gotta have a V, right? And the last member of the Extreme series is the Shredzilla, because every metal brand also has to have a Super Strat these days. They've got 6, 7, and 8-string Hipshot hardtail models, none of which are available on Sweetwater, but don't worry, we'll come back to the shape later. On to the Legacy series, and BC Rich has been busy. 3-piece maple neck through, beveled bodies, 3-side headstocks, and with some exceptions, DiMarzio deactivator pickups. Now, the deal with the deactivators is that they're supposed to be DiMarzio's passive take on the active pickup. I just tried them for the first time in the new Ibanez Iron Label Baritone, and I gotta be honest, they sounded kind of poopy, but we moved. The Legacy Stealth is a new addition from launch. It's like a droopy X shape, comes in both gloss black and Spalted Maple. I was literally just talking about how most of the Legacies came with deactivators, but these have a DiMarzio Super X2N in the bridge and a Deactivator X in the neck, except the product page photos show it with regular DiMarzio deactivators. So I guess these are prototypes, and they haven't had a chance to photograph the production models yet. Chuck Schuldiner of the death metal band Death was known for playing a Stealth, and so they actually have a tribute series model for him with a Tone Pros tailpiece, Spurzl trimlock tuners, and a simplified one humbucker, one-tone layout. For some reason, the only left-handed BC Rich is a Spalted Maple Legacy Stealth. This one's actually in stock at Sweetwater, so you can see the actual photos of it where it's got the actual pickups with the blades that they'll come with. The gold actually looks very sick, but yeah, all the other lefties are MIA. I don't know, man. The Legacy Mockingbird comes in both Floyd and Stoptail versions. Stoptail comes in translucent red, Blackburst, and translucent purple. Floyd comes in the same translucent red, Blackburst, and translucent purple, but also in Honeyburst and in Koa. Some of these old school BC Riches have so many knobs and switches, man. Coil splits, reverse phase switch, and a 5-way baritone tone filter preamp. Even though that's way more than I know what to do with, I'm a bridge, pickup, tone, fully open kind of guy. It's super cool to have that much versatility in a production guitar. I still wish it looked better. It's got big DIY mod energy. Looks like some of the project you'd see on Fluff's ridiculous reverb listings. You know, I get it. That's how it was done back in the day, so they're not going to change that in the Legacy series, but like objectively, that is too many mini toggles. Anyways, that was a rant. We move on to the Bitch Legacy, or the Rich B as it's known now. The normal version has Floyd and Stoptail variants. This is my favorite BC Rich shape. The carves and the wings, it's got a lot of Batman vibes. The Floyd only comes in trans red quilt. Stoptail comes in natural Koa. They've also added a 2023 edition with a simplified control scheme that comes in English walnut, gloss black, pearl white, trans green quilt, and ultraviolet. I'm so confused, man. There's Mark 1s, Mark 2s, regular versions, 2023 editions. This lineup is both incredibly comprehensive and also kind of a giant mess. You're completely spoiled for choice, but also what the f is going on? Anyways, you can also get a double neck Rich B Legacy, so you got the 12 string and the 6 string necks, and even more controls. Comes in trans red, white, and in natural koa. There is just a lot going on here. I've always wondered if there's actually a sizable market for double neck guitars. I mean, it sounds like a really dumb question, but are people actually buying these? And like in enough numbers to warrant 3 colors? They're so cumbersome. I always assumed they were more of a novelty thing. 3 SKUs at around $2,000 each is a pretty big bet on double necks, again, because they're neck through, ebony boards, DiMarzios, the whole thing. But could be a smart play. They are the only double necks on Sweetwater right now if anyone is in the market for one. And of course, there's the Rich B Perfect 10. That's the one I've always wanted to try. I think you could write some crazy cool Monuments or Tremonti style riffs with that. Bizarrely, the only import version of the Warlock Legacy was their limited collaboration with Stranger Things, Eddie's, and Jay Warlock. That run is obviously done, and I'm actually very surprised there aren't regular production models of the Warlock Legacy, since that's one of their most famous shapes. Every 13-year-old metalhead growing up wanted a Bronze Series Warlock. And so here's where it starts getting confusing in a different way, because the Legacy series is no longer just imports, but it also includes custom shop level handcrafted US models instead of putting them in their own series. And the only Legacy Series Warlocks on Sweetwater are at this tier: a 2022 limited edition in metallic red, a super 80s purple cracker with a Kaler that's actually really sick, and then a 7-string Floyd in white. Those last two especially are just so outrageous. Why are they not regular production models? But yeah, this lineup has like a billion models, and for whatever reason, no import Warlock Legacies. The Iron Bird is another shape in a confusing state. Okay, so stick with me here. We've got a Mark 1 Legacy, single DiMarzio Super Distortion, comes with your choice of either a Floyd or a Kaler. The Mark 2 is also up for pre-order. Floyd only, comes in white pearl and black pearl. Different inlays, different headstock shape, same pickup. Weirdly, the Mark II isn't part of the Legacy series either, but the Prophecy series, which, oh my god, this is getting ridiculous. We'll circle back to the Prophecy series in a second. There's a signature Mark II Iron Bird for Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse and Hate Eternal. It has fish influences and a non-beveled body, so I'm not entirely sure why this is listed on BC Rich's website as part of the Legacy series. And then there's a few USA Legacy Iron Birds, gloss black and purple crackle, both with Kalers, and then a 7-string Floyd in gloss black. Okay, so that's the modern Extreme series and the classic Legacy series covered. You ready for even more? Well, BC Rich seems to think so. Enter the Prophecy series. As far as I can tell, the Prophecy series sits in between the Legacy and the Extreme series, blends of vintage and modern. There's the Iron Bird Mark II Prophecy we just talked about, which again, I still don't understand why it's here instead of the Legacy series. Somebody help me see what I'm missing. Then BC Rich has gone all in on their Shredzilla shape in the Prophecy series, which is essentially their Archtop Super Strat. This is the only brand new shape the new owners introduced in 2019, and I have to think that Schecter is pissed they didn't think of the name Shredzilla first. And while the Shredzilla Extremes aren't on Sweetwater, most of the Prophecy versions are. The coolest Shredzillas for me are the Evertuned ones. I love when things just work so I can get to work, so I'm a sucker for Evertune. These come in gloss black, lava burst, and English walnut in 25.5-inch scale 6-string, 26.5-inch scale 7-string, and 27-inch scale 8-string variants. Most of the Prophecy series BC Riches have 3-piece maple neck through. The Shredzillas are 5-piece maple wenge neck through instead. But my favorite thing about these by far is what they're calling the Royal Ebony fingerboard. Light colored ebony with dark streaks running through. It kind of reminds me of marble, so sick. DiMarzio Super Distortion in the bridge, deactivator in the neck. I don't think I've seen another 8-string DiMarzio Super Distortion production guitar, and definitely not one with an Evertune. But I kind of feel the same way about these as I do the Jackson DK Moderns. Spec-wise, awesome. But why reserve this stuff for only the relatively generic Super Strat when they have so many immediately distinguishable unique shapes. In fairness, I guess an 8-string baritone Evertuned 8-string Mockingbird would be heavy as There's also the Shreddzilla Z6 Exotics, Poplar Burl Tops, and Reptile Eye in Cyan Blue. Outrageous abalone binding. I'm actually kinda really digging this aesthetic with the maple boards and Cyan Blue Burl especially. Maybe it's because the abalone is less pronounced on a lighter maple board. Maybe I've just looked at too many guitars at this point and I'm going insane. All the other Floyd Rose Shreddzilla prophecies are missing from Sweetwater. There's a 6-string in satin black, a 7-string in satin black and spalted maple, and an 8-string in spalted maple and black cherry. Yeah, okay, 8-string black cherry quilt and abalone everywhere. You cannot convince me that's not a Schecter. BC Rich is also experimenting with multi-scale, aggressive 25.5 to 27.5 inch scale with Fishman Fluence. Again, could not tell you why this is not in the Extreme series, but we move. Comes in Cyan Blue, Purple Haze, and in Spalted Maple. So basically, this is their way of sneaking a baritone into the lineup. 27.5 inches for the low string is a fun time. Oh, and it seems we found the import classic Warlocks. Kind of, sort of. Unfortunately, they're not on Sweetwater, only on BC Rich's website for now, but they're part of the Prophecy series. Comes in Gloss Black, Gloss Red, Matte White, and in Green Pearl. EMG 8160 in what looks suspiciously like carbon fiber binding. That's pretty cool. Also sucks they're not on Sweetwater because that seems to be the only other left-handed BC Rich in Gloss Black and in Matte White. There's a Gunslinger 2, which is a beveled flat top simplified version of the Shreddzilla. This looks like your classic 80s super shredder. I mean, slap any name on the headstock. LTD, Charvel, Jackson, Gloss White, and Gloss Black are up on Sweetwater. It's a shame they don't have the cooler colors listed on BC Rich's website: Green Pearl, Orange Pearl, and Candy Apple Red. And there's an acoustic. Okay, BC Rich. When I think acoustic, I do not think BC Rich, but I mean, look at this thing. I am here for it. BC Rich does not do subtle. It's part of their delayed 50th anniversary collection, and you know what that means. Quilt maple everything, top, back, sides, flame maple and abalone accents, bone nut, ebony bridge and fingerboard, locking tuners. Even the back of the headstock is quilted maple. Man, like, this guitar is outrageously eye-catching in a different way than BC Rich's normally are. Okay, so looking at the overall picture, first thought, this lineup is insane. And I mean that in both a good and a bad way. So let me explain. When BC Rich first announced their comeback in 2019, I praised them for being super focused. Here are the fan favorites on the legacy side. Here's how we're taking our most famous shapes and targeting modern players on the extreme side. They were providing great fan service to their loyal audience while also using their unique heritage in exciting ways to bring in new players. It was comprehensive, there were a lot of SKUs, but it was still manageable. Since then, I haven't really heard anyone talk too much about BC Rich. Again, they had like the most unfortunate timing in the world, with the world shutting down right before they were gearing up for real production. So like, they literally couldn't get their guitars made and out to players. I'm genuinely curious how many people actually got their new BC Riches before they've gone and just added a ton of new stuff to the lineup. This is an overwhelming number of SKUs. There are some missing from Sweetwater, like the Beast Legacy isn't up on there, but I'm surprised that Sweetwater committed to this much BC Rich and in this many colors from the get-go. That's a big obligation, and Sweetwater doesn't like when things just sit in inventory. No dealer does. The lineup is sprawling, and you can tell even from going on BC Rich's own website, it isn't nearly as focused as it was in 2019. Like, I get you have to update and add over time, but like, the original launch got delayed. You've still got 50th anniversary 2019 models reaching dealers, and then you've got Mark 1s, you've got Mark 2s, you've got models with 2022 and 2023 in the names. Like, what is going on? It's gone from a very clear vision that I've cited as the prime example for how a guitar company with a strong identity should lay out a lineup. Here are the models that the old fans love. Here's something for the new fans to fall in love with, to something super nebulous that's very difficult to follow. And I get it, the pandemic put them behind, but you've also got the Extreme series basically re-debuting as these super modern takes on classic shapes, but the past couple of years, LTD, Schecter, hell, even Jackson has moved to stainless steel frets on their higher-end modern models. Dean even, they are in a world of f***ery right now. Stainless steel frets is a big upgrade. They feel so smooth and glassy. It's not a small deal, so you've got these models dropping for near $2,000, and spec-wise, they're already a little behind in that area. The irreplaceable thing BC Rich has going for him, though, no one makes an Ironbird or a Warlock or a Mockingbird. You know what I mean? Like, I have concerns, and most of their shapes are not my thing at all, but I'm definitely rooting for BC Rich because love them or hate them, they're one of the few companies that proudly does their own thing. There are no models inspired by a 53 Telly or a 59 Burst Les Paul or any of that standard nonsense. Like, oh, you like Strats? Well, have you tried a f***ing Mockingbird? It's kind of the same thing, except infinitely more badass. And I have faith in the BC Rich fan base. BC Rich fans, in my experience, are some of the most loyal in the industry. I mean, the current owners even are fans who bought BC Rich because they were fed up with how badly the brand had been tarnished over the years, and they wanted to do things right and restore the brand to its former glory. So it's been really tough for them. Getting into Sweetwater is huge, and they wanted to do things right and restored some former glory to the brand. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. And on a personal level, I hope they're back on track because I still really want to try a dang 10-string bitch. Don't you dare even think about going out of business before I get to try one. Oh, and this is how I was reminded that Andy James is part of Five Finger Death Punch now. It seems like they're still adding models in real time because his signature 7-string BC Rich just popped up on Sweetwater. Comes in satin black and in satin white, alder body wings, 5-piece maple wenge neck through, Fishman-Fluence moderns, and an Evertune. And look, I love those specs, but again, it's like BC Rich has so many cool, unique shapes. It's a bit of a shame this is another super strat. In fairness, the headstock is interesting, super metal, or also a shame depending on how you look at it. It's wild how many different headstock shapes BC Rich has. That was one of the problems before the relaunch, and again, goes back to what I was saying about how this expanded lineup feels much less focused and a little all over the place. No stainless steel frets as well, so $2,200 might be a little steep for something that looks very similar to the MH1007 ET with a different headstock. But those are just some of my thoughts. Here's where I'll throw it to you. What are your thoughts on BC Rich's newest relaunch or relaunch attempt 2? What are your thoughts on BC Rich guitars in general? You think they're cool, they're lame, they're badass, they're trying too hard? Who else wanted a tribal warlock in middle school? Any and all thoughts, let me know down below. A massive shout out to my patrons. Their names are up on the screen right now. Consider joining them if you like what I do and want to directly support the channel. You can also pick up some comfy merch or bookmark my affiliate links. That really helps, and everything goes back into improving the content, so that is much appreciated. Social media, merch, and Discord server links are in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I will see you for the next video.